first.
And you gave it
Maybe.
I said, did you get the cold to do that?
Yeah.
Did you start? I'm coming around. I don't remember getting sick when our kids maybe.
Not up yet.
I'm trying to explain to Barb where it was that she had no. No, this is Karen. Ron was Karen's Marcella's sister.
Yeah.
You can run over Grandpa. Well, I just want to make sure something's.
Yeah, I was gonna sit there. I'm sure
You will have to turn that up loud. Yeah. Volume.
Yeah, that's what it's true. Oh, he's got it.
Yeah, but just go over to him. There we go. It's as loud as it goes.
Maybe Dad. And I marked over. I know. We were just talking about Lorraine's ones. It says, pick up my phone.
Standard front and
My daughter, but I don't know if they're. Well, sometimes it's not always ever utilized. I'm gonna go talk to Dad and his wife. It's been that long. She's on the right side. Do you have a cousin coming from California? Yes. And is she running late? She's running late. Okay. Good. We've done a lot of living and learning. Much a lot of okay. Traffic jam on the freeway. They are so excited. And they're bursting at the same time. That's transition and that's Sally.
so Zach, you woke him up?
He's logged on.
Okay. Yeah, I just stood there and Grandma and Grandpa saw me. So.
Hi, Zach. Sure. Thank you. Watching that happen.
Mother.
How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
Good. So did you know? You probably knew her.
Yeah, I grew up with my parents and Lorraine and Jeanne played piano called Games No Piano.
I heard of it. I had heard of
They
it.
played piano when I was a kid. I would play with their kids. So I knew them.
So you know that.
Trying to not show on screen.
All this group came out.
They were just
Oh, okay.
So all the North Dakota people that knew each other all
Came together?
We got together every year. 4th of July at our house. We like to have fireworks. We go to other houses.
Yes, they gave up.
We just had lots of things that we did.
So you go work.
Yeah, go play back.
Yeah. So you guys are like friends.
It's kind of like North Dakota family.
Happens too. Sometimes everybody's just like that.
Well, the new generation. And then my parents bumped into one of them at a store after my parents moved out here with my sister. And from that, they just connected and found out all these other people were here too.
And they just
Who knows?
Yeah, he's up there. I think they're connected with the district.
Walk about I think my sister she said she might be a little late. Well, when they think about starting, I'll come up and get okay?
Give me a ring on my phone.
Okay. Don't call me because I already paid.
My turn off.
My turn. I'll go up. I need the exercise.
Yeah, I wanted to tell you, so unfortunately.
Hey, you.
I had 3 from June.
One to Jeanne and then an hour to the one.
Okay, yep, okay, good.
If people want them, I can give them out. There's not enough for everybody to take.
Right, yep, perfect.
Worried about that because she would probably be playing them. So, Monday, Thursday, music.
I was going to do no video. So, I mean, I'm not streaming. I'm not streaming.
No.
Well, it's good to know that. Okay.
So we'll talk about whether that's something she can do, and I'll let you know soon, so you don't.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I'm not streaming.
No, she'll, just play them for us.
Yeah. Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, we don't have to sing on the
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm gonna send your name there?
Yeah.
He's in Oregon, or not Oregon, Idaho. I thought she was coming, but I'm not sure. I don't see her. Yeah. And I'm not here yet. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen him, yeah. Yeah, we'll see. They might sit next to us. Yeah.
I'm parked literally right across the street.
So I can just go. Yeah. If they're open, I'm gonna go and say hi. I'm here.
So you'll get to.
You'll get told, but I can take you to the
Carpool. Party car.
Maybe you'll get a discount on the towing fee.
Maybe. Buy one car for free.
There's a lot of cars there. I think we'll get out. Greenville Towers last week, they're right there.
Yeah. Sandra in the tow truck.
It seems to be rolling.
So, how are you? Where you been? You still looking? I know,
We were waiting. So exactly.
don't need that.
We were waiting. Everybody online can see. We got somebody in Idaho that's watching. And probably North Dakota.
So,
Tell her when you want her to start. Where
She's just sitting. No one will ever know. I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Of course, he's not a musician. You keep it here for
That's what he does.
Because you could say, like, how long will it take me to get there? Oh, so that's what it's up. Yeah, so, okay. We'll just.
Need to upgrade it with an airborne.
Oh, you got a nice. No, she's looking for her mom. One of those weeks.
I didn't send you those.
Oh, I probably met you, I'm Ron. You probably helped with our wedding. She pretty much taught us. I know. There were so many people. Memories are really fading. I'll say hi to Don.
Yeah, this is the official one.
Judy Sakalis. I did, and
Oh, okay, that way. You want to sit around here?
You are?
Yeah, I know, yeah. Oh, that's mom.
This is mom, so I was saying you could have NTK as a barrier between you two, so you don't fight. Yeah. You better
Yeah, I know, it's like, the vibes, the vibes.
Let me sit back here. I don't know, I'll figure out There's like, there's all the stuff that just won't come back. Yeah. One day. It seemed like one day.
But I also have a very my birthday. You should complain on that.
Stay right there. Because you're between us and the camera.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Does the camera move?
The camera does this. It's streaming it.
Hi, Jerry. Hi. It's been a long time.
All the way from Lawrence. I haven't been here since Mom died, so. Did you?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Well, I live in Arlington, so
That, you're telling me in that picture.
Oh, yeah.
but I did get here. You're gonna draw?
There's one more to say.
Yeah.
That's what I figured. Yeah.
no, this is.
Pretty much as Rapisha as I said, she's going right kids in it.
Yeah, Linda said we want pictures with my mom.
Yeah.
Just wiped out.
Yeah.
Just. Why, because I was planning on making sure that there was a lot of pictures.
It's a good idea.
Yeah. I just wanted, so I cut everybody.
That one? Do this one?
Yeah.
Why don't you just?
Huh? The upper left is the more.
Well, I'm talking about this one.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah. I could work another month on those pictures.
I'm with this family.
We can use these, we can share these.
There's not much.
Just in life.
Well, I wanted, I mean, there were pictures that I cleared out, but now it's grainy, but you know who they are. But I see it.
Thank you.
Yes. There's details in his dress.
Much better to write than I mean, she was filming. One minute sitting.
You know what's funny? The only wedding that isn't up there is mine.
I didn't know if you remembered
Because I couldn't find a picture with mom in it. So
My wedding is not.
no, it is Zach's.
It's ours?
I don't know, is ours? Is our wedding?
That's kind of weird. I might, yeah.
Oh, we've gotten them from all kinds of sources.
Back then, they didn't take pictures.
Hey, who's that? Yeah. That took a lot to get it so that your kids were not just white.
Well, not this.
Yeah, there are a lot of pictures that I took one, and I didn't put it in there, where one guy was out here.
Can we get a copy of this? Would you send me a copy of it?
You have an email with me, but Holly, yeah, he sent it. No, I sent it just to you to preview.
Wow.
Oh, he sent it to me to preview, but I never did. I got a lot of advice from him. I think he sent it on my first 8 a.m. to midnight.
Have a copy of this slideshow. Yeah, personal. Ready, white knight.
It's really fun. They're sad she wasn't. That's the only one I had. Well, you didn't know her. She was younger. Oh, okay, good. It's not sand. Uh-oh. That bottom picture, no, it's right. Looks like that picture was about 15 minutes. That's what it is. Carmen's coming. In traffic. That's why we're late.
Oh, I was gonna say,
For stepping out for
Someone offered to do this. I was to keep Well, you got rid of a lot of red too. It's old Bert McGrath's daughter to him.
they had that for a while.
We're waiting for Carmen. We'll be there in a little bit. We're waiting for our relatives. I must have been. Go for it. Yeah, you can do it.
There's a little bit of food out there.
Is the stream gonna be available? I assume so. They have stuff on there.
Oh, is that, that's how you were, okay, okay.
No,
Or Steve, but should they just go ahead and start? Yeah. Or are we gonna still wait?
might as well, because she's gonna, do we know how long? Yeah.
The state.
One that I actually know.
Because they don't pay for the last one.
She's second track. She's
You're gonna be fine. You don't have to worry. You have enough to pay your rent, and the rent includes all your food.
Yeah, go ahead. on here? Here's your volume control.
Zombie turned out.
It's, you can hear me. How can you hear me? Dawn, are you able to hear me now?
Yeah, probably.
No, I can't. Keep talking.
Okay, I'll keep talking.
Can you hear now?
Can you hear?
I can hear you, I can't hear her.
Now try.
All right. How about now, Dawn? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't understand you.
Okay, we'll turn it down a little bit. Try now. Say something.
Okay. How about now?
It's echo.
It's just,
Well, it is, it's a reverb.
Want to try it without your hearing aid?
Say it again?
Try it without your hearing aid.
Okay. Oh, no. I can't hear anything.
try that now.
Put the headset on him, Rod.
Try. Put it on the turn it off. Maybe you can just hear. Say something.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
A little bit? And can you understand me? Can you understand me?
Yes, so far.
Okay, all right. Raise your hand if I start getting fuzzy. You know,
Louder as soon as I do this, because they can't hear on that.
oh, okay.
They would if I didn't come to a locked case. Oh, where's the remote? The remote's behind the computer.
We're family here, and we're gonna get it right as best we can.
All right. keep talking.
All right, I'll keep talking, I'm talking, that's, yeah. But I don't know.
Okay. Rod? Yes, that's the volume. Keep back. Turn it down. Okay. There you go, guys.
Good job, Dad.
Good morning, everyone. It's my privilege to officiate at this service today for Lorraine. My name is Jeanne Rempel. 25 years ago, I was a pastoral intern, pretty new, here at Olympic View, of course, in the church over there. And I remember very clearly one Sunday morning. Now, I had met Dorsey and Phyllis, but I didn't realize that there were more Harrises. And I was sitting in church, right-hand side of the church, and afterwards, I met Dorsey and Phyllis, and then Dorsey said, and here's my brother Don and his wife Lorraine. And it's like, wow, this is cool. So I got to meet Lorraine there, and then I found out that there was Dolores Harris, and it wasn't until we were talking about this service that I realized that there was also Ort. And Ort was the one who got everybody out here for jobs, right? Because of the Seattle job situation was good right after the war. So I met Lorraine, and I also visited Don and Lorraine once in your house by the college. And I don't know if that was something about choir, because I ended up directing choir because we didn't have a choir director. And Don helped me some with that, and we did a joint choir program with, I think, 3 different churches, and Don would have coordinated that. But I visited, and I got to visit with Lorraine as well, and enjoyed her hospitality. And so it's been a wonderful thing for me to say, I've come here as a visitation pastor now, 25 years later, and I'm getting to meet all of the Harrises and hearing the stories, and it's been a blessing and a privilege for me. So my top isn't too red and my scarf isn't too sparkly, but I put these on because one of the things I heard was Lorraine loved red and Lorraine loved sparkly. So this is my tribute to her. And I also, as I worked out in the garden, once the sun started peeking out this week, I was working in the garden and thinking of Lorraine, because one of the things that she loved to do was to be out there in the garden. And she would have been doing it this week if she were still here and still able. I welcome each of you. You may be sitting here, you may be listening to the live stream or listening to it later, but somehow each one of you knew Lorraine. And I hope that you will find this time to be a time of joyful memories, a safe place to cry and be sad, because we are missing Lorraine. We're missing Lorraine in her physical body. We're missing the spirit that she brought to this family and to the friends that she had. And so we'll have a mix of emotions here, and that is good. It was made clear to me by the family that Lorraine didn't think she needed a service, that her friends were pretty much gone. I think she forgot that family maybe needed to come together, but we have come together, and we are going to try and honor her. I'll welcome your sharing towards the end of the service. And church for Lorraine was community. You know, some people join churches because all of their beliefs line up with all of the church's beliefs. But there are also people, and Lorraine was one of them, who was part of the church because that was her community. It was where she raised children. It was where she had friends. Gracie Edmark and her husband. I hear there were some pretty wild card games on Saturday nights with them. But you were all there on Sunday morning, so it wasn't too wild, right? Let me read the written obituary of Lorraine, and then we'll have an opening prayer. Lorraine was born in Minot, North Dakota, to Louis Gelking and Helen Dinitz Gelking. She was born a second-generation American with immigrant grandparents from Germany and Norway. She grew up in Minot. She went to Minneapolis after high school to take a course in cosmetology. There she met up with her best friend's cousin, Donald Harris, who was also from Minot, and he was attending an electronics school on the GI Bill. They were married on December 26, 1947, in his parents' house by his dad, who was a Brethren minister. They were married 76 years at the time of her passing. And that has got to be a big hole for Don, and he's acknowledged that. It's a hard thing. Their daughter Sharon was born in Minot, and then they moved to Seattle in 1952, where Don's brother Ort told them of the many job opportunities there. In 1953, their son Rodney was born, and they moved into the house in North Seattle that they lived in until 2015, so just across the freeway and down the way. And then their youngest son, Stephen, was born in 1961. Lorraine was a wonderful stay-at-home mom and grandmother with a sense of humor. She loved to shop at Northgate Mall for all the month-end clearances, and I'd like to underline that. She loved to shop there. I remember, this is Sharon, I remember her filling my living room with Easter baskets for preschool, for Sharon's preschool children because they were 90% off after the Easter sale. She loved fashion, Bob Mackey is a name I heard, gardening, her dogs, and the little birds that ate at her feeders in the spring. She will be missed. Lorraine is survived by her husband Don, her daughter Sharon Mellors, Andrew, son Rod Harris, Linda, and son Steve. She's survived by, let me say Steve again, he got lost in the microphone. She's survived by her grandchildren, Aiden Weller, Emmett Weller, Morgan Weller, and Andrew Weller, Barbara Scheller, Kirk, Jason Harris, Heather, Monica Jackson, Zachary Harris, and Kendall Harris, and great-grandchildren, Miley Scheller, Evan Scheller, Samantha Harris, and Alex Harris. Is there anyone that got forgotten? Any great-grandchildren that got forgotten? And I know there are some cousins, or, yeah, cousins or nephews. A nephew here as well. All right, let's have a prayer. God, you are a God of love and a God of connection. And when we come together because of someone that we love, someone who loved us, that is the way that we find out about you. So I thank you for the love that is in this family, for the laughter, for the struggles. Lorraine was at the heart of that. And we ask that this time reflect her and how people were with her and knew her. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. I looked at some scripture verses, and actually some verses from Proverbs 31 came out to me as the clearest representation of who Lorraine was. A wife of noble character, who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She gets up while it is still night. She provides food for her family. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her tasks. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Let's sing a hymn together. Don said it was okay for me to choose the hymn, so I did my best. I chose 421, which is Blessed Be the Tie That Binds. And if you haven't been in a Brethren church or haven't been there for a while, we sing all the verses when you're in a Brethren church. So there's 6 verses here, but they tell a story and they're not too long.
Thank you.
Is it on? Yes. I had the opportunity for 2 long Zoom calls with the Harris family members and got to hear so many stories, so many moments that were touching. So, and when I asked family members who wanted to share, pretty much everyone said, we're not gonna get up at the service. So I'm gonna tell stories, and then we'll have the slideshow, movie, whatever it is called. And then if you want to tell a story, if we've missed something, it's your time to stand up. Lorraine loved to have fun. And I pretty much get the feeling that Lorraine loved life. She loved the color red. She loved her '75 Mustang. She loved bad Bob Mackie clothing with all of the sparkles. She loved gardening. Pole beans, irises, hydrangeas, peonies, lilacs, roses, a plum tree, gloxinias. The gloxinia at the church are, I think Lorraine either got them from the church or she gave them from the church. But it was a mutual relationship with Lorraine and the church and gloxinia. Lorraine preferred the outside. She'd rather be outside than in the house. She'd rather garden than clean house, although she loved to clean the house too. And I understand she had a really clean house, that she would wear things out from cleaning them so well. And of course, because she became a true Pacific Northwester, the flowers thrived, but the grass always went brown in the summer. She loved being a mom. She had differing relationships with her kids. Steve, I guess, was claimed the title of black sheep, and I didn't hear anybody object. Rod seemed like he knew how to get in trouble though too. Maybe he knew how to blame Steve, I don't know. She loved cleaning house. She loved floating in the pool, but she only wanted to be in the pool when no one else was in it, because floating and splashing do not go together. She loved friends. She loved her family. She loved her community. She loved her dogs, and here are some of their names: Cindy, Sandy, another Sandy, Kibo, Scratch, Pepper, Izzy, and Ginger. She loved shopping and bargains, specifically end of the month at Northgate Mall. Certainly the Bond, also Penny's and Hallmark had some pretty fantastic month-end clearances, and she was always finding something. And she made sure that she told the family how much she saved. She didn't necessarily tell them how much she spent in order to save, but she saved. She would buy identical gifts for Christmas for everyone, and all of them were a good deal, but some of them were a little odd and not as well understood or appreciated. I heard about broken watches one Christmas, but someone else is gonna have to explain that story. So families didn't always get or appreciate the gifts, but what they did appreciate was Lorraine's heart and her commitment to everyone in the family. She loved holidays, dyeing Easter eggs. Someone mentioned the smell of vinegar automatically brings them back to dyeing Easter eggs. And Christmas was a huge favorite. The youngest would open their gifts first, and there was the annual white elephant gift exchange. She changed the rules every year on how that gift exchange would go, but it always involved dice, and there was always a ton of laughter. She loved Mariners games. She enjoyed being taken to games with family, or when the senior centers would go, she loved to go to Mariners games. She loved Dr. Phil and Golden Girls, and probably because she couldn't make it to Northgate any longer as she was older, she loved the QVC channel, watching for the bargains. Her favorite Disney DVD was Snow White. This is the grandchildren telling me this, and she loved Shirley Temple, and she had the DVD collection of all of Shirley Temple's movies. She also loved to collect Jeanne Hagera, thank you, collection. There's one figurine in the back, but if you look at the pictures, you can see cabinets that look like they're full of Jeanne Hagera. And there's also a doll that you'll find sitting on the back table that always sat in a small chair and that constantly got knocked over by the grandchildren, but it survived, and it is here today. It might be giving dirty looks to some of the grandchildren. I don't know. Speaking of grandchildren, Lorraine loved her grandchildren and was eagerly involved in their care. Zach remembers going with Lorraine to the park near their house, and he was staying with Lorraine when there was an earthquake. And at 4 years old, he thought Pepper the dog was somehow shaking the bed. And then he finally, I don't know at 4 years old if he really understood earthquake, but Pepper could be responsible for that. Kendall remembers swimming at Grandma's while Grandma would watch her from the side. And Kendall also ended up caring for and bathing dogs. She was even there when Izzy was put down, which is a pretty hard thing. Kendall lived there for a while, either in the house or in the trailer, and maybe, I don't know what age this was, but there were always cinnamon rolls from Sam's Club, as was yellow Jell-O. So, Lorraine and Kendall had the yellow Jell-O figured out, being always in stock. Monica remembers the Mr. and Mrs. Claus that were in Grandma and Grandpa's house that had M&Ms inside. And at one point she got in trouble for eating them all at one time. Grandkids remember Arby's fish sandwiches. Jason remembers being in the car one time and being shocked when Grandma offered them cigarettes. And then he figured out at some point in time that Grandma was offering sucrets, not cigarettes. They also remember beer being kept in the fridge, and Grandma always told them that was for the slugs. And I think the children also said, yes, it was for the slugs, but the grandkids weren't quite sure if that was the only purpose of the beer. And something that is very telling about who Lorraine was. When Lorraine died, whenever Kendall would tell folks that her grandmother had died, if they didn't know Lorraine, they would offer her their sympathies or say something kind. If they knew Lorraine, they immediately had a funny story to tell about her. That's who she was. She brought love, she brought laughter. She chose to be happy, because she didn't always have happy times. She chose to be happy. She had a love-hate relationship with cars. She absolutely needed to go shopping and see friends, and so she had to learn to love cars, or to have a truce with cars to drive them, yeah. She had an accident when she was younger, first year, I believe, driving near the Northgate Hospital, and I think that probably left her a little shaky, as well as coming to the big city after being in the country, right? But because she needed to shop for sales, and she did need to visit friends, she drove notoriously slow, except for when she had a car that had a tachometer, and she kept on trying to get it up to 30, so it was quite a bit faster than what she normally drove. And she would never take the freeway or even 99. Meridian was her street of choice. If she could not get somewhere by going Meridian, she didn't go. She got teased a lot. It made no difference. She did what she needed to do with that car. And once, when she was shopping at the mall, she got in her Dodge Dart and she started driving home. But something wasn't quite right. And she finally figured out that somehow she was driving the wrong car. I guess back in the days when keys were more interchangeable. Anyway, she drove back to Northgate Mall, parked the car, got her car, and made it home again. Lorraine was trained and worked briefly as a beautician for pay, but through the years she continued to cut the hair of many friends and family. Neighbors, I think, must have come as well. And sports weren't a big deal in the Harris household, but there was the equivalent of a Super Bowl celebration every year for Seafair and the hydroplane races. Back in the day, you would put a dime in the bag and you got to draw the name of a hydroplane, and that was yours for the race. And if your name won, you got all the dimes in the bag. By the time Zach was in the picture, you had to put in a quarter, but the excitement was always there, and there was always lots of food and lots of laughter. The Harris family was a boisterous family, a fun family. And it sounds like there were people that made an effort to be part of those Harris family gatherings just because they were so much fun. And I wouldn't be surprised if there were people that had hurting families at home, but they knew when they came to the Harrises that it was fun and that it was safe, and Lorraine created it that way. In later years, as Lorraine's health started to fail, she changed. She struggled with that. When she was young, she was up before everyone else, making coffee, breakfast, getting everyone sorted for the day. But as she got older, she increasingly became a night owl. She'd stay awake until 2 a.m. And she was generally more comfortable sleeping in her chair than in a bed, perhaps because of her COPD, and that was a challenge for her in later years. She hated giving up gardening. She hated giving up cleaning. She didn't like getting sick and older, and she was ready to go because she didn't want to put up with this in her body anymore. One funny story was funny out of the difficulty of her final days was she had to wear an oxygen mask all the time, and that so much limited her conversation, and so communication would just be frustrating. And Kendall suggested getting an Ouija board because it had all the letters, it has the yes and the no, and Lorraine thought that was hilarious. Maybe not everybody did, but it gave her some joy. Did you really get the Ouija board in the end? No, that was nixed. Well, it was a good idea.
I was afraid to tell her because she would think she was already dead.
Communicating from the afterlife. Wow. That's the end of my stories that I've collected. We can, how about if we show the slideshow, and then if people have stories, we'll do that, okay?
Okay.
sometimes, not often enough, we reflect upon the good things, and those thoughts always center around those we love. And I think about those people who mean so much to me, and for so many years have made me so very happy. And I count the times I have forgotten to say thank you, and just how much I love them.
Nice job, Rod.
Is there any more that you would like to say? A story that needs to be told about Lorraine? I can just bring this to you.
Okay, I have one story. Also, I'm Roger Edmark, and I grew up in North Dakota. So does my sister Judy. We were both born there. My parents were born there. And so when we came out to the Northwest, my parents, and also my mom knew the Harris boys. And so it's kind of like being from North Dakota is like a magnet, that when you get close to someone else from North Dakota, you just connect. And so from my whole childhood was spending time with what I call the North Dakota family. And though I have no blood relation, if you're from North Dakota, you're related. And so my parents would go and play pinochle at Don and Lorraine Harris. They were home all the time, and sometimes it was at our house. And we were part of the group, the hydroplane race thing, and then at 4th of July, everybody came to our house because we had a view of Green Lake, and Green Lake back in those days had fireworks. So this was kind of annually. You just made the rounds, between all the North Dakota families. But I wanted to tell you one quick story that I can only remember. I mean, I'm getting old too, so I can only remember so many stories. What's good about being a storyteller is it doesn't really have to be true, or I don't have to have got it right because I'm the one telling it. Okay. But the way I remember it was that we were over at Don and Lorraine's house, the family was. And in this particular moment, I guess, we were there for a meal. And we were sitting around, I believe the table was in the kitchen area, and we were sitting around the table in the kitchen, and we were about to have this meal. And Don noticed there were no potatoes. And he says, there's no potatoes. And so Lorraine kind of looks at him and then goes over, gets a raw potato and tosses it to him and says, now you have a potato. And that one's always, I've always remembered that one story. So it was kind of like what Lorraine was like. She was funny and interesting, and she had a sense of humor. And actually at the time I think she might have been a little perturbed, but it worked out okay. So I just wanted to share that one. Thanks.
Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Marcella. I am Steve's ex-wife. So I guess that makes me Lorraine's ex-daughter-in-law. Okay, Sharon says I'm always the daughter-in-law.
He's the ex-son.
He's the ex-son. Kendall and Zach are my kids. And what I wanted to acknowledge was how important both Dawn and Lorraine were to my family, my parents, who are watching this now. When Steve and I decided to divorce, I remember my parents' biggest fear was that they would lose contact with Dawn and Lorraine, but they never did. They would come for the Christmas programs every time they visited. They made sure to go and see Dawn and Lorraine and go to dinner or something with them. And my dad, the years that they didn't come here for Christmas, my dad would be very sad because he really, really liked the game at the end. Really liked the game at the end.
That's one person.
I liked it too.
I think part of it was it allowed him to get rid of a lot of little junky things that he did at his house too, and then he got to bring home more fun, new junky little things. My sister too was also always basically a Harris, and probably attended more family things than I did, at least in the last few years. But she was always appreciated for her macaroni and cheese that she bring.
Hi, I'm David Harris. My father was Ort Harris, not brother. And Dawn and Lorraine came to Seattle, I guess it was 1952, and stayed with us in West Seattle for a while. Lorraine was pregnant with Rodney at the time. And we spent a lot of time with Dawn and Lorraine. And I could have lots of stories, but I'll just do one. I remember going to we used to go to North Dakota together. And I remember one time that Dawn and Lorraine and Sharon and Rodney and me and Dolores and Ort Vickers and my sister Barbara all got in one car to go to North Dakota, and I think we had a dog along. Jip lived there. Was that all the same trip? And Jip was in the trunk. And we're driving down the road, and somebody looks in the rearview mirror and said, the trunk lid's open. So we went back searching for Jip, and he was kind of my dog at the time, so I was feeling pretty bad about this. And we found him. Come up and out of the ditch along the road, and threw him back in the trunk and run. I think we drove straight through too.
Yeah, we never stopped except for put gas in the car and you had to eat and go to the bathroom at the same time.
Yeah, it was grueling, right? Now it took 3 days to do it and stay in motels and stuff. We spent a lot of time with Dawn and Lorraine. We used to go over there for Christmas. This must have been before the game. My last Christmas there would have been like 1959. And moved to California in 1965, so we didn't see too much of everybody in Seattle after that. We'd get here a lot. We'd always make a point to go see Dawn and Lorraine. And we'd seen them in Bremerton just last June. So we saw a lot of them over many, many years. We love them all.
Anyone else?
We came back on that trip with a pump organ on the top of the car.
Put that on let that be recorded as
We came back on that trip with a pump organ on the top of the car.
Oh, geez. Oh, my.
A little bit of the Beverly Hillbillies, right? Sorry, I'm Lorraine's granddaughter, Sharon's daughter, Barb, and I just remember all the fun times that I had visiting with Grandma and Grandpa at their house, and she would take me shopping, and I was mortified because we would go through the store and she'd find something that she had bought previously that was now on sale. So she kept the receipt in her purse. So she would take me to the check stand, and then she would argue with the teller about how she was going to get the refund for the difference, or she was gonna return the product and then buy it again at the cheaper price. So they might as well just give her money. And they always did, and I was mortified. But I remember that Grandma and Grandpa's house was always the place for all the grandkids to be. I think every single one of the grandkids ended up spending a lot of time in their teenage years and beyond at Grandma and Grandpa's house, because it was always welcoming. The first thing you did when you came in the house was check the cabinets for anything good, food-wise. But I remember, you know, Mom would always talk about how Grandma would get up in the morning and she would make lunch, and the last time that she made Mom lunch for school was when she made her a coffee ground sandwich, because she was not awake. But by the time I came around, Grandma had kind of, you know, mellowed a little bit. And I remember one time my brother and I, we always would go to the freezer and get something good in the freezer to eat. And one time we left the freezer door open, and the ice cream that was notoriously kept in the freezer had melted. And we were, you know, scolded justly, and then we got to sit down and drink milkshakes made out of the ice cream that was in the freezer. So we learned our lesson. She'll be missed. There's still time for a story or two, but what I would like is, we're coming to the end of our service, and this might, if you're not into the last hymn, this might get you through the last hymn. There's gonna be some lovely refreshments, and refreshments that are something that Lorraine would have enjoyed or liked to serve, and I was hoping someone, Linda, are you able to explain what the refreshments are, will be on the back table? Or do you want me to? No coffee ground sandwiches today, okay.
She always loved lemon bread, and lemon bread was one of her favorite, and chocolate chip, pumpkin chocolate chip cookies, and Sprite. So we just brought a selection for everybody to try and enjoy. And there's Frosties. And Steve brought Frosties.
Yellow Jello.
And yellow Jello. So, yeah, the table is full of stuff that she would love to be eating. So, enjoy. Thank you.
Our last hymn is 86. Now faith we all are God. 86. 3 verses.
Oh
high all the way around. I would like to thank each of you for coming, those who are here, those who are on the live stream. I thank everyone that puts something into this service, getting the goodies for the back, the slideshow, telling me all of the stories. The Harriet for the live stream there, and Annie for playing for us. I thank you for being Lorraine's children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. She loved you, that was clear, and so you will miss her, and she is certainly remembering and blessing you to the extent that she is aware. And I have no idea how that, we have what we've been taught in scripture, and I've worked enough with enough dying people and children to know that love is what carries us through, and that is the string that will always hold you together. So as we leave this place, may you know Lorraine's love that was given to her by God, and may you pass on that love to the extent that she welcomed people. May you welcome people, and may God's love and grace hold you through this and into the days and years to come. Amen.
Okay, everybody has to get a Frosty. I have enough for everybody. I'm gonna take them home.
Frustrating.
We actually held it for you.